G'day guys and gal! With the galaxy roaring with violence, aliens, space warfare, and literal furries, it's easy to overlook the fact that there is a shitload of crime. The Imperium is one big, oppressive, neo-feudal theocracy rife with inequality and corruption. Very little resources goes towards stuff like housing the homeless or free healthcare. So yeah, obviously a lot of people committing crimes in order to actually be able to live and support their family. This is further complicated by the fact that hidden Xeno and Chaos cults exist everywhere, which means that run-of-the-mill traffic cops just aren't gonna cut it. This is where the super space cops come in. The Adeptus Arbites. Although they are just mortal men, not blessed with the Emperor's seed, their badassery is undeniable, and they don't take shit from anyone. Like when Vrax fell to the evil Cardinal, there were two factions that held true to the Emperor's light. The first one with the Sisters of Battle, cause no shit, and the second one with the Adeptus Arbites. Before we get started, the legendary support you dudes and dudette have given me on Patreon is a huge reason why I'm able to do YouTube full time. Boatloads of hentai is a solid reward, but I wanted to step it up a bit. So everyone who is sending $5 or more per month is getting a free sticker, which is this cute little Majorkill Space Marine dude. If you're an existing patron of $5 or more, then make sure you log into your account and put in your shipping address. There's a super simple guide on how to do this that I'll link below. This is important because if you don't do that, then I can't send you the sticker. I'm not fucking psychic. If enough people sign up to the $5 tier, then I'll send out more stickers more often, of fun little designs. Today we'll talk about the Adeptus Arbites. Who are they, how powerful they are, as well as how far their legal jurisdiction actually extends. Let's get into it. If these bucket-headed paragons of justice and order seem familiar, then that's because they are. Like, Judge Dredd has the exact same vibe going on for sure. Kinda funny when GW takes blatant inspiration from a setting and then guards it like it's their very own custom e-girl. The Arbites are even nicknamed judges. Nice. Getting back on track, the Arbites are their own organization that operates outside the local scope of the law. That means they don't do the day-to-day cop shit like traffic infringements or shooting protesters in the face with rubber bullets. Founded during the dawn of the Imperium, an arbitrator, as they're called, are unbreakable warriors of justice with absolute authority. An arbitrator can execute planetary governors and even inquisitors at will if he deems them to have violated the Emperor's vision and law. That's right, if an arbitrator sees a radical inquisitor doing some heretical shit for the greater good of the Imperium, he will not hesitate to blow said inquisitor's brains out. The only organization that seems to be exempt from the straighty 180 wrath of the Adeptus Arbites is the Astartes, mostly because an Astartes is the only soldier in the Imperium that an arbitrator can't beat in an arm wrestle. Yes, I know they have absolutely no say of the Custodes, but nobody does, so it's pretty much implied by this point. Just because arbitrators can and will kill inquisitors doesn't mean the factions are necessarily at odds. In truth, it's very common for inquisitors and arbitrators to team up during investigations. The Arbites like the inquisitors due to their vast pool of resources and skill sets, whilst the inquisitors like the Arbites due to them being really reliable and almost totally incorruptible. That, and they're built like fucking fridges. There's a scene in the first Eisenhorn book, great book by the way, where Eisenhorn raids a house and uses an arbitrator to help him. They knock on the door and they're like, FBI, open up! And then the homies in the house start blasting, and I kid you not, the arbitrator's straight up like, alrighty gentlemen, let's do it your way. He then fucking Leroy Jenkins into a house full of tangos with nothing but a big ass shotgun and his gigantic balls, before absolutely fucking them up. In truth, it could be argued that an arbitrator is what an inquisitor should be. They have similar authority, they investigate the same shit with the same goals. The only real difference is that inquisitors are cock-swinging egomaniacs that always have hidden agendas, whilst the Adeptus Arbites just want to curb stomp some heretics. Due to this single-minded nobility, whenever a planet is overrun, the Arbites are always the last to fall. On Ikar 4, there was a very subtle Genestealer uprising. Not subtle as in like sneaky, they were very violent and loud, but subtle in the way that the Tyranids and the Genestealers were kinda new, hence the Genestealer cult hid the fact that they were Genestealers. Anyway, the planet was taken pretty quickly by the Genestealers, and even their local planetary defense force joined up with them. The Arbites, however, fought tooth and nail. When their fortress fell, they waged guerrilla warfare against the Genestealers, and they were able to wipe out the planet's energy generators before they were finally slain. This fucked up the Genestealers because, no power means no tentacle hentai porn. Hence the Ultramarines were able to mop up the uprising and retake the planet about a month later. This kind of resistance was displayed time and time again. The Arbites are few in number but great in strength. Whenever a Chaos or Xeno uprising occurs, they do their best to squash it, and if they realize they cannot achieve a total victory, they will sabotage the planet's infrastructure, weapons and supply, so that retaking it down the track will be a lot easier for the Imperium. So how does an arbitrator come to be? After all, finding unshakable fridge warriors isn't something you can just do willy-nilly. Well, their recruitment is pretty neat. Basically, when an Imperial servant, often a distinguished soldier or noble, dies and leaves behind their children as orphans, the Adeptus Ministorum will take them into the Schola Prognium, wow, this is really testing my pronunciation, which is like an orphanage for private school kids. Here, they are well educated and trained, before being put into service in the less shit parts of the Imperium. The especially brave and solid orphans are recruited into the Adeptus Arbites. They are trained at the Hall of Judgment on Terra before being sent out to one of the many Arbites fortresses stationed on pretty much every advanced Imperial world. We've already kind of brushed over it, but what do they exactly do on a fundamental level? Well, the Imperium has a lot of worlds with a lot of diversity. Each world will have its own set of local laws. You know, some might make it so you can't marry children, others might make it that you can't have more than 5 wives, that kind of stuff. The Arbites don't give a fuck about these laws. All they care about is if the high laws of the Emperor are maintained. An arbitrator is the judge, jury, and executioner of each case he presides over. He does not need a court to approve his actions, as he is the court. They remain confined to their fortresses on each world for the most part, as they don't want to mix in with the local culture and form any kind of attachment or connection to it. They are there to read the big-ass Book of Judgment and smack bitches. That's it. Speaking of the Book of Judgment, the memes that Alpha Buzzer and the TTS team made about it are actually pretty accurate.
I wish for the day to come when this pain ends.
According to multiple passages in the Book of Judgment, you just broke 357 different laws within the span of those 11 words.
So what you are telling me is that the humongous bureaucratic blisters upon this once fine imperial musculature has managed to ruin my entire poor sweet Dictatis Imperialis through a case of galactic myotic dystrophy?
Define ruin.
There are so many laws created by the High Lords of Terra that multiple big-ass volumes of the Book of Judgment exist. Due to there being like a fucking million laws written by different people, a number of laws contradict each other. Hence, when someone breaks a law, which paradoxically isn't breaking a law, because not breaking that law is against the law, so if it's broken then they haven't broken the law, it becomes a bit of a head scratcher. Some judges will spend an entire lifetime trying to determine the course of action of a single case, only to die and pass the responsibility onwards. Likewise, the original offender will also likely die before their judgment can be passed, hence the punishment is instead often inflicted on a distant relative generations later. Yeah, it's pretty fucking stupid. In order for the arbitrators to actually be able to do their job instead of having a fucking aneurysm every time they try and comprehend the Book of Judgment, they each have their own interpretations and rules regarding the laws of the Imperium. Most copies of the Book of Judgment that the Arbites refer to are extremely compressed versions that only really talk about relevant shit, like what is considered heresy, rather than shit like if people can chew gum in public, or if you can bomb a civilian hospital if it has enemy militants in it. So what does the hierarchy within the Adeptus Arbites look like? An orphan will become an arbitrator who form the bulk of the Arbites. There are quite a lot of variations of the arbitrators depending on their specialties. The arbitrators are given direction and command by the judges, which is the next leap up from an arbitrator. A judge will generally be the one that assigns arbitrators onto certain cases, or sends them to go break some uppity shithead noble's kneecaps for being a douche. Whilst arbitrators could do that anyway by themselves if they see said noble violate the law, those high-profile incidents usually come from the boys upstairs. Judges wield obscene power, on par with a Lord Inquisitor. I mean, if an arbitrator can kill an Inquisitor, imagine what a judge can do. They have so much power that they sometimes deviate away from the Book of Judgment, because you know, the Book of Judgment is fucking shit, and instead almost become vigilante with how they deal with their cases. For example, a nobleman treats his people like dog shit, but due to his knowledge of the law, is able to explicitly avoid committing crimes. When some of his people speak up about it, they will often find themselves breaking obscure laws. Hence the nobleman is using justice unjustly. This could make a judge override the Book of Judgment and beat the nobleman to death. This is like an objectively good thing to do. However, by a judge doing this, they're basically saying that they know better than the Emperor, even though you know the Emperor didn't write the Book of Judgment. Hence, that is considered super heresy, and will generally end with the judge getting clapped. As such, noble, loyal, and well-adjusted judges and arbitrators will find themselves in this category more often, whilst the robotic, uncaring, oppressive asshole judges and arbitrators are the ones that do the best. However, these asshole members of the Adeptus Arbites often don't know where their authority ends, hence will prosecute members of the Imperium who are technically outside their scope of the law. With that much dick swinging going on, this generally ends in mass bloodshed and death, especially when the Arbites think they can take on some Astartes. It really is a dog-eat-dog world out there. The step up from a judge is a magistrate who presides over the most complicated cases where the result could impact the lives of billions. The step up from a magistrate is a marshal who will generally find themselves in charge of a planet's worth of arbitrators. The step up from a marshal is a justicar who can command Adeptus Arbites forces across multiple systems. The step up from a justicar is a Lord Marshal who commands the Adeptus Arbites across an entire sector. And then there is the Grand Provost Marshal, who is the Big Daddy, the leader of the Adeptus Arbites and a High Lord of the Imperium of Mankind, aka this guy. There are a bunch of sub-ranks that I mentioned earlier that sit around the same level as the arbitrators, but specialize in different stuff. Shit like interrogation or detective work. I feel like the Adeptus Arbites are really underrated. Like, they have a seat on the High Lords of Terror, and their authority outweighs 99.9% of the Imperium. I think it comes down to the fact that in a contest of big, heavily armored badasses, they are outshone by 8-foot-tall Angels of Death or the Emperor's favorite Golden Boys. Regardless, if you ever find yourself at odds with an arbitrator, yeah, I have no advice for you, mate, you're fucked. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Only $1 per month gives you access to a boatload of hentai, and $5 per month gets you a snazzy-ass Majorkill sticker. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more bucket-headed content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.